time for another Stylish Skirt Saturday. Hi, I'm Christina, and I love to digitally apparel pattern, creating unique pieces of wearable art. And this past week, I found this fun skirt, and I definitely knew I had to pattern it in half scale, see how it would turn out, and then maybe even bring it up to a full-scale pattern. If you enjoy digitally apparel patterning, make sure you grab my free key commands and useful charts to pattern in Adobe Illustrator so that you can follow along. I will also link down below the half scale of where you can find it so you can also grab it and follow along yourself. Let's bring up Adobe Illustrator, and I have my inspiration photo right here ready to go. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is kind of analyze this skirt just a little bit and make some decisions, some design decisions on how I'm going to draft it and how I'm going to finish it. And I definitely love the asymmetrical hem of the fitted half of the skirt, but then I do not believe that the hem is asymmetrical at the bottom. I believe it might look a little asymmetrical right now, but I think that's just how the woman is standing. But even if it is asymmetrical, I know I will want my hem to be completely even all the way around, which with the way I'll pattern it, that will be something that I will do on the dress form or finalizing. So since I know this is an asymmetrical pattern, I'm going to start by pulling my front and back over just a little bit because I actually want to reflect them over. That way, I'm working with the full garment and not just half of it. Since I am going to be crossing that half line on the design, I need to be working with the full thing. So they are now reflected across. And the other thing I want to do, because I think, I'm going to want to add like a few inches, because I know this is in half scale, but I think I want to go down just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add a square or a rectangle that gives me an extra, should I do 2.5 inches? 2.49 looks pretty good. And then see if I can get it. It's not going to let me. I could actually go and try to add that in. Actually, that's what I'm going to do. So, instead of cheating it, we're just going to figure out. So 9.04. So we're going to draft a rectangle that is 9.04 by 2.49. There we go. Now I have an extra little bit on both the front and back of my skirt. Now let's take a look at this. I'm going to leave in my double darts. I only see one necessarily on this one, but with how this is kind of stylized and everything, I kind of like the idea of having 2 darts in this pattern. I think it would be, something a little bit more unique along with the rest of it. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go ahead and draw my style line in. And since I know I was already going to hit here, I don't think just drafting a line from here to here is going to be quite enough of an angle of what I actually want it to be. I think I want a little bit steeper of an angle than that. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just get a line going right here. And I'm going to transform that line. We're going to move him not horizontally, but we're going to go -1.5. Yeah, I like that. We're going to copy and paste that guy over, whoops, to the other side. We're going to grab the full thing, bring him down, and we're going to do the same transform move. Okay. So now that I have moved up from the hem of that, I now know where that angle is going to be. And I can go ahead and pen that angle in. On, whoops, not quite that there, on both sides. Yeah, I think that's going to give me the angle I want. I think that might be slightly harsher of an angle than what they have going on over here, but it actually might not be. Either way, I am happy with what that's going to do. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add, it actually looks fairly proportional from here to here to here to here. So I'm going to measure from the hem up to the top, which is 10.35. So then I'm going to go ahead and draft another rectangle. And I know the back was, there we go, and we're going to go add 10.35. And that's going to be the bottom part that I'm going to do a slash and spread on. Now this side, I am not sure what this length is, so we're going to go ahead and measure that. We're at 9.21. Then we're going to draft a rectangle. 9.21. There we go. And now I have all my design lines there and ready to go. So I can now move on to tracing at least the top pattern and then the bottom pattern, and then I'll still have to manipulate the bottom pattern. So I'm going to start by getting a new layer. Top green skirt. It's always important that you label your layers. That way you know which layer is what, and you're not then going back and guessing. It's like, oh, well, what was layer 2? What was layer 4? What layer was this on again? It's always good if you can give yourself some sort of guide. It keeps your patterns cleaner and just helps you all the way around to make sure that this is labeled nicely. Then I'm just going to go ahead and trace all the way around this pattern. Straight there. And remember, if you don't get it exactly, you can always go back in and fine tune afterwards. I just decided to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so that it wasn't going to mess me up too much, because working from far away sometimes does not aid what you need to be doing. Click. And I am around. And see, you can already see that first one needs a little bit of an adjustment. And what actually I should probably do, so we're actually going to add a anchor point there, pull that anchor point into straight, and then we're going to manipulate, not that, hello, going to manipulate that handle so that it is nicely on that line. Then that is my front. I'm going to go ahead and also just throw a grain line on there and some text. Front green skirt. Cut 1. And now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the back. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to learn my lesson and click a little bit higher. Oh, and my my computer decided to switch it on me. We're gonna switch that back so that my pattern is hollow in the middle and I just have a black outline. Somehow I probably clicked it when I clicked my face to become huge. And it's an easy fix. All you have to do is go right over here to this fun little doodah and switch them. And we're gonna go, whoops, that's not on that. Center point, and I'm going to round that. And there we go. So I can go back and I can turn that off and we can see I have my front and my back. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and finish. I'm going to put my grain line on and my text. Cut one. There we go. So that's the top part. Now I'm going to do another layer. I'm actually going to do it right above that one because eventually I'm going to want to trace it out and I'm going to want to have it traced out on the green skirt layer. That's like the final. So I'm actually going to change this to final pattern, green skirt, lower drafting, green skirt. Cool. Zoom out just a wee bit. And then I am making sure that I'm on the correct layer that you want to be tracing onto. If you're not, make sure you click onto it, because if you don't, you're going to be tracing on a layer and then you're going to have to go find it later. I have definitely done that by mistake and I don't know why. It just did the exact same thing again, but it did. You should have closed. I don't know why you didn't close. We're going to try that again. Oh, we're going to lock that layer. That's probably why. It's because I was also attaching to the skirt that I had already drafted. That's not right on that corner. There we go. Intersect. And it closed that time. So I was attaching to the top layer. So any layers you're around, make sure they are closed. There we go. Awesome. So then I'm also going to quickly ensure that I label these because I don't want to get them confused. If you get them confused, well, you'll be able to figure it out. But it'll just make it so much easier if they are properly labeled. Well, sure, why not? Awesome. So now I have that. Let's go back and look at my design really fast and make some more decisions. So I think I want to, so the little ruffle on top of it, I don't see that being gathered in at all. We can actually zoom in on this a little bit. We don't need to be that far away. It might be slightly eased in there, but it's not gathered, which makes me not want to gather the bottom very much either. Just makes me want to kind of flare it out. But with how full it is up there, I do kind of want to put just a little bit of easing. So that's something that you just have to determine of what you want to do. And now I actually just have to decide, do I want to ease it in a little bit? Do I want to gather it in a little bit? Or do I want to have it just go straight on? I wish I could see this skirt in motion and know what the motion would be, because that would tell me a lot of whether it's more of a flutter or more of a gather. It's always fun to know what kind of motion you want. And the kind of motion I would want, I think I want more of a flutter than more of a gather. So that answers that question. I'm going to have it gather straight in, so I'm not going to add any ease at the top line, or if I do, it's going to be very, very minimal. So I'm going to go ahead and not lock that layer. I'm going to make that layer disappear and that layer disappear so that I am only working with my two fronts and back. Now I want to give it quite a bit of flutter. Oh, and of course I also made my skirt go away, my picture. Which makes me almost want to put a half circle skirt on the front, at least a quarter. No, I think almost a half. Oh, decisions. It's always the fun part, is you get to make some of your own design decisions, especially when you're working just with yourself and you're not answering to anybody. I might do it both ways, actually. So I'm going to copy, paste, and we're going to do two different ways. So the first way that we're going to do is we're going to do it the straight. We're going to give it quite a bit of flutter and ease it out and have a great time doing it. So we're going to draft a line, and we're going to make sure that line has some color to it. We're going to move that line horizontally 0.75. Should I go for a full inch? I think I'm going to go 0.75. And we're going to copy that line over, and then we're just going to move it and move it and move it. I almost guessed that just right. So I'm actually not going to do that end one. I'm also not going to do that end one. So I'm just going to get rid of them so I don't have to worry about that. Then I need to figure out how many I actually did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. That means I actually have an exact middle. It should be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5. Awesome. Then I'm going to go ahead and just make that line a little bit more obvious. Maybe just go up 1. There we go. So I'm just going to go up just a little bit, and I'm also, well, that's okay. I was going to move that there. And I don't want to be dealing with cutting up that, so we're going to move him like that. Next, we get to start cutting apart this pattern. Now this is going to take a little bit to do like a little bit of slash and spreading, but I'm going to slash and spread from the middle out so I can kind of see them go. So I'm going to go ahead and cut, divide objects below. Should I have, no, I'll be okay. And now I want to give myself a guideline so that when I actually rotate it, I'm going to rotate it out, let's go 2 inches. And we want to fill the line. There we go. So then I'm going to grab everything and we're going to rotate on that point out the 2 inches. There we go. Then we're going to move that guy up and over. And we're going to do the same thing again. Grab them, rotate, and I definitely went to the wrong line. That's okay. Easily fixable. Ooh, look at that. I actually almost guessed that right. So let's fix that rotate. Here we go. Yep. And on to the only one. Next line. Grab, nope, first move. Move it to the right line this time. There we go. Grab the rest of them. We're going to rotate. Like I said, I'm using those key commands. So if you want to be able to get moving and patterning fast, I always recommend make sure you're grabbing those key commands, because that's how I'm just flip-flopping between tools so quickly, is I just know those key commands and have been able to have them memorized. I also have a little chart that I used to use all the time, but since memorizing them, I haven't needed to. Then we're going to rotate up. There we go. We're going to flip you like so. And divide, highlight, rotate. Definitely not going to be far enough, so I need to actually rotate this guy now as well. I'm still getting almost 2 inches there. You can fake it for a while, but that was getting a little skinny. There we go. Then we have, oh, let's go ahead and move that. Last one, we're going to rotate him just a smidge. Highlight, rotate, doot, doot, doot. There we go. And that is half of my front. So, as you can see, all I was doing was cutting, then highlighting where I wanted to rotate and rotating it out and off. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, but I'm going to fast forward this part so that you guys can see it done a little bit faster, and we keep moving on. And there we have it. I have now slashed and spread both of my bottom parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock that layer really fast, and I'm going to trace out that pattern. So I want to make sure that, oops, not that one, that one's locked. I want to make sure that I'm on the final pattern set one. And then we're just going to, oh, I am not on it. I'm still locked. That's why. We're fine. Cool. We're going to actually move those guys up and out of the way for a minute. Nope, didn't mean to do that. Just want them out of my way. There we go. Now I can go ahead and pen around, and we're just going to put a few anchor points along this curve to make it nice and curvy. And get those guys to line up like so. pattern 1. Now we're going to do the next one. Again, just a few curves, and then the straight. Make sure you get that handle so it's hitting as many of those hems as possible. That way you know it's going to start off being as even. I'm a little long on this side, but we can go fix that real fast. To get it to work on the other side, I needed it a little long. I'm going to pull this one back. There we go. Next, what I want to do is I want to grab my grain line, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy front so that I can then lock that. Well, I don't want to lock that layer yet because I want to grab this one, copy, move to my top layer. Not that. We want all of it, not just the arrow part. Whoops. Copy front. There we go. Now I can lock that layer and make that layer disappear. So that means I now have the front and back top fitted portion and the bottom flared portion. But now I still have to get this ruffled portion there. And I want to make that a circle with a circumference of half of my skirt each, because I see that as just being a easy circle. You could do a double circle, and then you'd have to have a seam center front, or you could offset it so you'd have a seam like at the princess seams if you wanted. But I'm just going to do a simple circle for the front and a circle for the back, and I'm hopefully that's going to be enough fullness for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get those off. Then we're going to start doing some circle math. So that is my front. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and just draft my back as well so that I have it. Let's see here. And it is, I'm going to start with the front, 10.02. So I'm going to pull up my calculator. 10.02 divided by 0.314. Nope. Divided by 3.14 pi. So the diameter of my skirt, of the ruffle, needs to be 3.19. If you want to find the radius, which when you're hand drafting you often want the radius, you just divide that by 2. But since we are not, we just need a 3.19. So I am going to go back into this drafting layer really fast. We're going to draft a 3.19, a square, and we're going to flip it, pull it in, and then we should be able to check it, and it should match perfectly. So then I just need to figure out how long I want it. I think I'm going to add 1.5 inches to this. So I want to add a total of 3 inches. So we want 619. So we're going to do 6.19 and center it. And then we want to align them. And then if you want to measure, that should be 1.5 inches. Perfect. So this is going to be, I guess I could have just drafted that. We're going to copy that, and we're going to place that right on that top layer. And let's draft a line really fast to give us, because we're going to have to cut it and add seam allowance, which I didn't think about, which means if I was taking a quarter off and a quarter off, this is actually going to be 1/2 inch too small for that circle. So what I think I'm going to do, because then I could just have it ease in slightly as well, I could could add half an inch to this, so I could do 10.5. 10.5 divided by 1/4 is 3.34. And I think I'm just going to give myself just a little bit ease, and I'm going to go 3.5. So we're going to delete those, and we're going to go again, 3.5, 3.5. And we're going to pull you in, and we're going to go 6.5, 6.5. And we're going to pull you in. And we're going to align you guys. And we're going to draft. There we go. So that will now give me, with the seam allowance in the circle, as well as just a smidge of ease throughout the entire thing. It's not even so much ease that you'll actually even be able to see it. Not worried about it at all. So let's see here. This one's 9.88, and I also want to give myself half an inch worth of seam allowance for 1/4 and 1/4. So I need to do 10.38, I believe it is. Which I think will actually be fine if I just use the same one. Because if I just use the same, that'll still give me a little bit of ease. Not quite as much as the front, but it'll still be there. So I'm actually going to use this exact same circle for the front and the back and be good. So let's go ahead and give us a little line. I don't know why you keep flipping on me today. Sometimes you just love to mess with me, that's for sure. And we're going to label it, so small ruffle, front and back, cut 2. There we go. Then we're going to clean this up and get that to go away, that to go away. This somehow got bumped up a size. It was probably when I was bumping up my center. I somehow clicked that. So I'm just going to clean that up, make those disappear. And it's basically ready to get printed out. I'm super excited to see how this turns out. I will also later, if you want to check back, I can show you how I'm going to do the other skirt. So I'm going to have it with just a full flounce out, and then I'm going to have another skirt where I'm actually going to have it gathered underneath this ruffle right at the top. But definitely check back for that video later. If you enjoyed seeing this video, make sure to check back to see how this skirt gets sewn together, as well as other fun, stylish skirts that you can create. Make sure to grab those key commands as well, because then you can get patterning in Adobe Illustrator very, very fast by just flipping between all those different tools by just using your keyboard. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in some of my other videos. Happy patterning!